Good day, good day, good day, good day, everyone. I go by the name of Kimwane Vungwenyi. Today I'll be presenting my lesson on mechanical technology, grade 11, under the topic of force. Then, on our lesson objective, today we are going to define the concept of forces, the concept of force. We are going to identify different types of forces. We are going to explain effect of forces on materials. We are going to apply the real life engineering situations. We are going to use example to explain forces. Then a force is a push or pull acting on an object, is a pull or push acting on an object. Then a force can affect a movement, it can affect the shape, it can affect the structure. Let's say we have an object. Let's say we have an object here. That object is stationary. This is our object or a trolley. Now, the trolley is given a force on this direction, going on this direction. That means it's going to do what? To affect the movement and the shape and the structure. If the force is too strong, it can even affect the what? The structure. Okay, sharp. Then force are important in engineering and technology. Then we have types of forces. We have what? We have tension. This is tension force. This one is tension force. Then we have compression. We have shear. We have torsion. Then we have bending. Here there are examples of the what? Of our forces. Then we go to what? To effect of forces. Effect of forces. Force, when it's acting on object, it can result in what? In stretching, it can result in compressing, it can result in crushing or twisting and bending. The structural damage if the force is too strong. Let's say here we have a structure, then we have the strong force going this side. Then it can result on the structure to get what? Damage. Okay? Then we go to examples in everyday life. Then the bridge carries what? A bridge carries what? A heavy load. Bridge carries a heavy load, while bicycle's frame experience tension and compression. Then the vehicle part experiences different forces. Then here we are going to use our calculation. We're going to use simple calculation. Then they say determine the direction and the magnitude of the resultant force for the force system shown in the what? In the figure by analytical method and graphical. Okay, we have this force going upwards on our y-axis is 600 Newton. Then we have this one on our x-axis is 450 Newton. Then this one is not on our axis. It have an angle between axis and what? And the force. Then the angle is 60. Even this one, the angle is 40. So we are going to do what? The component on the what? On the forces. We are going to result in the component on the forces. Then here our angle is what? Is 45. That means this side it will be sine. This one it will be what? Cos. Even here we are going to use the same thing. The force is going down. We are going to restrict. We are going to result on our two components like this. Then this side, because the angle is this side, we are going to have sine here. Then we have cos here. But our component will be force sine angle, then force cos angle. Then this is our y, this is our x, this is our x, this is our y. Then we are going to do some of the forces on the what? On the f, on the x is what? Is force cos 45. We are going to use here force cos 45 because it's on x. This one it's going to be 1000 cos 45. Here it is. Then it's going 800 cos 60. Here is 800 cos. Here is 60. Then we get the force. Then we're going to say force Sum of force on y is 600, and this one, and also this one, and this one is what, 1000 sine 45. This one is what, 800 cosine 60. Then we have 800 sine 60 and 1000 sine 60. And also this one is going up. This one does not need any component. It's 600 because it's on our y-axis. Then we do our calculator. We get the answer. Now we're going to use Pythagoras theorem because we have our what? Our x and y. Remember our Pythagoras theorem say r is equals to x squared plus y squared. Therefore, then we kill that square root here by introducing the what? The root. Then we enter our sum of x's and sum of y's. Then we get what? We get 900 Newton. Then we go to our conclusion. Our conclusion says forces are important in mechanical technology. Different forces affect materials in different way. Understanding force help to improve engineering safety. Thank you, guys.